Howdy. Today I'm going to try to get into something I've been thinking about for a long time is how we, the United States, got into the situation that we're in right now. And I've been thinking about it, the patriotism and some of the stuff that's going on. So I'm just going to talk and show you some stuff and everything and try to figure out how we got here. So it starts out with, why did we stop, or most of it stop, the Pledge of Allegiance in the schools? I mean, it used to be when I grew up. I was born in the early '60s. When I went to school, I remember standing up and saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. I mean, everybody in the United States ought to have, patriotism for the United States. And I don't understand it, but anyway, it's been on my mind. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. So I hope y'all will watch this and comment, like and comment, and give me some input on my thoughts. This is just my thoughts. I'm not a professional or anything else like that, but these are my thoughts on how we got to where we've gotten in the United States. So anyway, starting out with saying the Pledge of the United States. Back in the 90s, 1980s and 90s, we used to say the Pledge of the United States, but all of a sudden it sort of backed off. And I've done some research, and it says starting around the 1980s and 90s, few schools made it routine during a lawsuit, because of a lawsuit. By the 200s, it was optional in many places. And post 9/11, it actually bounced back in some districts. Okay, well, it should have never bounced back. It should have always been that we stood up and said the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't get it. Today, it's still common. About 70 to 80% of the elementary schools do it daily. High schools, it's way less. It's like 20 or 30% of the kids, they just sit there quietly. Why? Why is that? What did we do to the kids today in high school that they're just sitting there and they're not standing up saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I don't get that. But we used to all stand up. People my age, we used to all stand up and take pride in the flag that was flown in the schools. And then, flying the flag, the American flag. Most of the public buildings in the U.S. and tons of privates fly the American flag in front of, or basically in front of or outside of the building. In school when I was growing up, the American flag was flown. And we stood up and we said the Pledge of Allegiance. We've got the American flag flying outside most of our public buildings, like the courthouses, the post office, the VA, all those places. It flies out there. So I think the American flag, from what I'm getting, the American flag is still required strongly and encouraged in most places to be flown into the schoolhouses. And some of that's changed. There's other flags that I don't agree with. It should be just the American flag that is flown in the school classrooms. So, but we've got the American flag. It stands out. So, I'm very proud of the American flag. I fought for the American flag and the freedoms. And then, we've all of a sudden got these other flags that are flying in the schools. Like, why do we have these flying in the school systems? If I don't have anything against them or anything else like that. If that's the way you want to be or whatever, that's up to you. Just don't force it down my throat. And I think most civilians in the United States, American-born civilians in the United States, believe that way. They don't want it forced down their throat. If you believe that way, and that's your lifestyle, then fine. I don't care if you want to be that way. If you want to be bi gay, or whatever you want to do, then that's fine and dandy. Just don't make me force it down my throat and make me say, yeah, okay, this is great and everything else. That's not my beliefs. I don't believe that way. So keep it to yourself. What goes on behind closed doors in your house and in your bedroom is your business. I don't need to know about it. If that's how you are, then fine. But we don't need this kind of stuff right here flying in the school systems. It's leading kids away from the education that they should get. That's just my opinion. I think it leads away from it. The American flag over here should be flown, and that's the only flag that needs to be flown in the school systems. Now, I'm trying to read some notes that I took, so give me a minute and everything. Let me take my glasses off and see if I can read some of this stuff. Some districts banned the BLM flags and the pride rainbow flags and foreign ones. Some districts have banned them to stay neutral, while others allow them for inclusions. When did the school system start doing this stuff? I don't get it. When did they start allowing this stuff? Tennessee and New Hampshire have laws limiting the display to just the United States flag and like the POW flag, and that's it. You can't fly any other flags, which is great. I think all states should have that law. The only flag that you're flying in the school systems, in the classrooms, ought to be just the American flag. And then something else that's been on my mind is the Lord's Prayer. I know it's not in the Constitution. They don't. The forefathers kept it out of the Constitution because it was. How do you say it? It was. They wanted to keep it neutral. They didn't want to have state religion or a divine stamp. So the forefathers were religious people or religious men, mostly Christians, but they built a secular government framework. Okay? So they wanted to keep it out of the government. I get that. I understand that. But as far as the schools go and everything, I'm sort of debating on this. I don't know. I get it. I remember the Lord's Prayer being said, and some people, some parents and everything else would raise Cain about it. And they didn't want it pushed on their kids. Okay, I get that. And then they went to a moment of silence. Okay, yeah. But I still think that the country was built on a Christian faith. And, that's my belief. That's how I feel about it. I don't see anything wrong with the Lord's Prayer being started. You go to school and the first thing in classroom, you say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then behind that you say the Lord's Prayer. I didn't have any problem with it. My parents didn't have any problem with it, but I understand that there's certain parents that have problems with it. So I get that. And, it was taken out of the schools in 1962, I believe it was. The Supreme Court decision made that. It was in 1962 that they done that. And then after that, no public schools were required or were required to lead a Lord's Prayer without risking lawsuits. So, yeah, all right, I get that. But I still think that we need to fall back on God to get this country straightened out again. And let me see what else I've got. Yeah, like 1962 and 1963, the Supreme Court banned it. in 1960s and the 70s, some held out trying momentarily to, do it. They have the schools, the students pray if they wanted to, but then, it's been banned. Okay, I get it. All right. But to my opinion, I think that, you ought to have the Lord's Prayer. That's just me. You ought to let me know how you feel about that. But, I just felt like it was something that we did. So there's also, you got, to me, like I said, I think the country is built on God, and you've got it in songs like the Star Spangled Banner in 1814. In God is our trust, and the Star Spangled Banner. My country, 'tis of thee. Our fathers, God, thee was in there, and it was in 1831. America the Beautiful in 1893. God shed his grace on thee. All these patriotic songs that we've always gone by, and in my opinion, that we've always gone by when I was growing up, they was patriot. So God Bless America in 1938, God Bless America, land that I love. There's another song that it was in. The Battle Hymn of the Republic in 1861. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. His truth is marching on. It was in that, so you got some religion in these songs, which is patriot. And what's another one? Lift every voice and sing. In 1900, the Black National Anthem, God of Our Weary Years, is in that song. So it's been out there in these songs, and it's a patriotic, these songs that's got it in there. So I don't, like I said, the country is built on with God in it. So, and also the American currency, in God we trust. We've got that on our American currency. So you can't tell me that our country was not built on in God we trust, or in God, in our Father. It was built by our forefathers with God in mind. They lifted out of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that. But, they based it all on in God we trust, or our Father, or God. So, and it's right now it's on, it's been on our currency. In 1956, Congress made it mandatory for all U.S. money, paper, and coins to have it on there, in God we trust. But it started earlier than that. The first appeared on coins in 1864 on the 2-cent piece. Then it spread to paper money by 1957, when the first silver certificate got it. So, we've had it. Our country's had our God, our Lord, whatever you want to call it, on, built up in the United States. And then, there's something else I've been thinking of. This is all the religious stuff that I've thought about. So I'll get off that and we'll move on to something else. But, that kind of stuff sort of bothers me, that we've gotten away from saying the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools and, praying for our country to get better and do better. And, I just believe that. Just let me know what y'all think in the comments. There's a few more thoughts I've got that I've had that I've been trying to figure out and everything. And one of them was the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts used to look like this right here. The Boy Scouts of America is now the Boy Scouts of America, BSA. I can't remember what the BSA stands for, and it started in 2019. that they transitioned from the Boy Scouts to letting girls. The first girls started right away. It started in 2019. They announced that the girls could join the Boy Scouts from age 5 to 10. The first girls started right away. About 5,000 of them signed up that year in 2019 to join the Boy Scouts. Why? It's a Boy Scout. It's got it in its name, boy, you know. So how did we get to that point that we're allowing girls into the Boy Scouts when there's a Girl Scout? If they wanted to join a club like the Boy Scouts, they could join the Girl Scouts. So what happened there? They launched a program calling it the Scouts of BSA in 2019 for ages 11 through 19, replacing the Boy Scouts. It was open to both boys and girls from day one. First co-op troop formed that spring. And in 1920, full kickoff of it, the girls could earn the Eagle Scout, the biggest award, just like boys. So I don't get this. I don't understand that. I don't understand how we went from allowing girls to be in the Boy Scouts. It's this kind of stuff to me is tearing the country apart. You know, we had Boy Scouts, we had 4-H, we had all this stuff that was supposed to build these little children, these boys, these males, up into becoming men. And then we all of a sudden introduced that, well, you know, it's not going to be Boy Scouts anymore. It's going to be some boy girl, you know, you can come into our club or whatever. To me, that just doesn't make sense. To me, it just doesn't. So let me know what y'all think about that. Now, the Girl Scouts have stayed the same. The Girl Scouts don't allow boys to be in the Girl Scouts, which is great. I agree with that. They shouldn't be in there. But here's the Girl Scouts right here. And they didn't, you know, it says, what I've researched is the Girl Scouts of USA, GSUSA, doesn't allow boys to join. It's still a girls-only program. Membership is open to girls in the grades K-12 and up, or I guess it's down, actually, up to K-12. And anyone who identifies as a female, including transgender girls and biological boys who identify as male, not welcome. But you've got right here this individual. Well, this is the Girl Scouts again right here. All girls, okay? Now we've got this individual, a transgender, that's joined the Girl Scouts. How did we let this happen to us? I don't get it. I just don't understand it. It's mind-boggling. And we're, you know, in my opinion, we're tearing the country apart by doing this. So that's my thoughts about it. Y'all let me know what you think. I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this because there's a bunch more that I see that's torn the United States apart, and it continues to tear the United States apart. So that's just my thoughts on it. I'd like to know what y'all think. I mean, I'm just a guy that was born in the early 1960s, and some of this stuff just confuses me. I look back and I'm, you know, all these great days that we had growing up and everything, and now it just seems like these children that are being raised are being confused. It's mind-boggling. It really is. It's mind-boggling to think that, you know, that we can go from this right here to this right here. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. So it's just my 2 cents. I'd like y'all's feedback on it. And like I said, I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this because of some other things that I've been thinking about and trying to figure out. And I'd like to know what y'all think about it. So please follow me. Leave me some comments and give me a thumbs up. And like I said, there's probably going to be a part 2, probably even a part 3. So after I get done with all this stuff, everything that's going on in my mind right now. So God bless you, and thanks for watching, and I appreciate all y'all's support and everything. So y'all have a good day, and I'll try to get part 2, part 3, maybe part 4 out before long. God bless.